welcome back to Crazy Dave's Kitchen, where today we're going to be making four-in-the-pan pizza, which is a Jackie special. Jackie, my dental hygienist, perhaps you've heard me mention her once before in a past video, insists that I cook more food and less on the form of baking. She's not much of a baker. So this is a perfect Jackie recipe. So we're going to start with the dough for the four-in-the-pan pizza before we get into all the other ingredients, because unfortunately, this pizza recipe, the dough rises for 4 hours. And I know that seems like a long time, but really, it'll give you plenty of time to prep all the other ingredients. And you, the viewer, gets to just fast forward to that point. So it's really convenient for you, not so much for me. So we're going to start out. I've got 400 grams of bread flour. There we go. 400 grams of bread flour. And the reason why I'm doing grams is the breakdown is like 2 3/4 cups plus 2.5 tablespoons. So really just get out your scale and weigh out the flour, 400 grams of bread flour. We also have 2 packets of the instant yeast, again with the instant yeast. We have 2 tablespoons, we have 2 teaspoons of sugar, and we have 2 teaspoons of salt. And the dough is kind of a 2-step dough process. So we also have 1.5 cups of warm water, 110, maybe 100, 110, just warm. It doesn't have to be boiling or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and take our flour, minus the stuff I spilled on the counter. We're going to add our flour, we're going to add our sugar, and we're going to add our yeast. And we're going to start that mixing slowly for a few minutes. And then as that's mixing, we're going to start to add our water. And we're going to let this mix for about 5 minutes until a soft, sticky dough is formed. I'm just going to add that little bit of flour right back in off the counter. I know my counter is relatively sterilized. So this is going to mix, like I say, 5 minutes or so, and then once it's done mixing, we're going to let it sit for 10 minutes, and then we're going to add our salt, and we're going to mix it again for another 5, 10 minutes until a nice, shiny, elastic dough is formed. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, and you can see that the dough has come together rather nicely and formed a nice, sticky dough mass. And so we're really just going to let this sit for 10 minutes while the gluten forms in the dough. We're just going to let it rest in the bowl there. So we'll come back in about 10 minutes, and then we'll add the salt. We're going to mix it for another 5 minutes, and then we'll let it. Then we'll be putting it into the bowl to rise for the 4 hours. So I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. The dough has been resting, forming the gluten, and rising up a little bit. So right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of salt. We're going to just add that on top of the dough, and then we're really just going to let this run for 5 minutes. And once this is done running, a nice, super elasticy dough is going to be formed that we're then going to put into a bowl. I'm just going to run this on medium, so we'll be back after 5 minutes. Okay, so we're at the 5-minute mark, and you can see that our dough is very elasticy. This is exactly what we're looking for. It's going to be very sticky. I have a bowl here that is well oiled with a tablespoon of olive oil. And we're just going to scrape the dough into the bowl and thoroughly coat it with the oil. It's just that easy. And you'll need a bowl scraper, definitely, to get this out and into the bowl. Just a little coaxing here. If I didn't mention it before, this is loosely based on the focaccia dough because of the amount of water to flour. That's what's going to make this a very nice rising pizza dough. So here we go. We're going to get as much as we can in there. And then we're just going to try to flip it with our fingers from the bottom up. Make sure that it's all well coated with the oil. just like so. That looks pretty decent. Now, that's all we're going to do with that is cover it tightly with plastic wrap. Let's see if I can get this plastic wrap to work once for me. Maybe. So there we go. We're just going to cover this tightly with plastic wrap. We're going to let it sit for 4 hours. I know it sounds long, but if you start this about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll be enjoying pizza by, 5, 6 o'clock. There's a little extra work to come. And we'll show you that when we get there. So here we go. I'll see you in 4 hours, and we'll start putting the pizza together. Okay, welcome back to Crazy Dave's Kitchen. It's been 4 hours. So here we are. We have our dough. I also have a cookie sheet, and we're not going to get too far here. So I'm just going to spray the cookie sheet with some olive oil, a good coating. And I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil right into the middle of the pan, just like so. And hopefully my microphone problems have resolved since our last filming. Let's hope so anyway. So here's our dough, nice and airy. And all we're really going to do at this point, after it resting for 4 hours, is we're going to take the dough and we're going to scoop it out into the cookie sheet. And we want to try to not deflate all of the inflating that went on over the course of the 4 hours. So you just try to land it sort of in the center. And then we're really just going to, awesome, we're really just going to let this sit for 20 minutes before we try to move it with our hands. Because again, we don't really want to deflate the dough too much. And we're going to let gravity do a majority of the work for us. So here's our dough. I'll see you in 20 minutes, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, so the dough has rested for 20 minutes, and I spread it out with my hands a little bit, so we have a nice little rustic pizza going. I also laid down some pepperoni, and I also laid down some tomatoes. So the tomatoes, I just cut them in half, mashed them with a potato masher to get out some of the juices, because we're really looking for dry ingredients because the dough is so wet. So pepperoni is a perfect thing for that. Lay down some tomatoes. I also have low moisture mozzarella cheese. So we're just going to lay down some cheese, not a whole ton, just enough to cover the pizza. Should have had it in a bowl, but cover it, I don't know, however much cheese you prefer. It's going to take a little bit here, so. Well, one little bag should do for the size of this, not too close to the edge, of course. And then we're going to just add a little extra seasoning to this. Also, which I failed to mention, in Dave's Forgetful Kitchen, there's a timer I also forgot. Preheat your oven. Preheat your oven to 500 degrees and have a rack on the bottom of the oven, lowest position in the oven. Preheat your oven 500 degrees. I'm just adding a little bit of kosher salt on the top. Not that there's not enough salt in the cheese. I'm also going to add a little bit of black pepper. Just a few little sprinkles across the pizza, like so. And I'm also going to add a little bit of oregano. Just a little light dusting all around the pizza for a little added flavor. And then we're going to pop this in the oven for 20 minutes. And then we're going to have delicious pizza. For me, it's at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, but that's still fair. But this is our pour-in-the-pan pizza. I think you're going to love it. It's going to come out fantastic. I'll see you in about 20 minutes. Okay, so the pizza's out of the oven. Tale of two pizzas. One, 20 minutes, slightly burnt. The other one, 18 minutes. Looks really kind of good. So you can see it's very airy, very light, crispy on the bottom. Jackie, you should be pleased to have a food this time. Maybe your kids just want pepperoni and not all the extra stuff like tomatoes. I don't know if kids like tomatoes or not. But anyway, this is pour-in-the-pan pizza. Really takes all day. It's an all-day affair. But once the dough's risen, stretch it out a little bit. Again, it's a handcrafted pizza, so you can make the slices for whatever size you like. It's really a nice and enjoyable pizza. I made this for Super Bowl because I didn't think I had enough food, but it turns out I had way more food than necessary. So try my pour-in-the-pan pizza. Thanks again for tuning in to Crazy Dave's Kitchen, and we'll see you next time.